Hello, boys and girls, and horror fans. Bored now, back with you. On this video, I will be talking about the movie Sorority Babes in the Slimeball Bowl-O-Rama from 1988, and I had to just double check the title because I didn't want to get it wrong. It's such a great title. Really, it was the title that sold me on the movie. I mean, the poster isn't bad, but if it wasn't for the title, I just would have flicked past the movie and probably taken no more notice. But a movie title like that meant I just had to check out the actual film and see what it was about. The title certainly promises a lot. So yeah, from 1988, as I said, I'd not heard of this one. Gotta tick those horror boxes, of course, and it is on Shudder UK at least. It might be on other Shudders, but it's certainly, if you're in the UK, you can find it on the UK version. And the plot for what it is, because really it's a sort of film where there's very little to talk about when it comes to the plot, but it's set around this sorority house and this initiation. So you've got a couple of like potential sorority girls, and they're being put through their paces by the already established, experienced sorority girls. And the big initiation, or the big part of the initiation, is that they've got to go to the local bowling alley. Now it's late at night, so they've got to essentially break in, and they've got to steal a trophy, and that's part of the whole initiation. And one of like the head sorority girls, her like uncle or something, owns like the mall where this bowling alley is, so that it means they can basically spy on them. But at the same time, you get three nerdy, horny guys who just they know about the sorority initiation, so they just want to check out some hot girls basically. And in the process of being pervy, the three nerds get caught, and they then get roped into the whole thing, so that they are forced to go along, although they're kind of up for it because hey, they're alone in a bowling alley with two hot girls. And there, as they're stealing the trophy, lo and behold, the trophy opens up and it reveals an imp. Yes, you heard me right. An imp. What the fuck? So basically, this is about halfway through the movie, and what up to this point had been your very run-of-the-mill, trashy kind of like, I don't know, slacker horror fare, then turns into almost like some kind of cheesy, like kind of Disney comedy almost, with the imp character, because the voice of the imp is just one of these very kind of like goofy, like foul mouth sort of sashy sort of voice that you might get in like a Disney movie. And just the look of him and the design is just this classic sort of almost like Disney character, but if it was really low budget live action Disney. And then the whole deal is that he grants wishes, because of course he does. And they obviously, most of them at least, they have a wish each, and at first it seems all wonderful, but of course there's a twist, there's a dark twist, and things take a turn. And yeah, that's the setup. So you get two particular characters who are kind of become the characters you are meant to root for. So there's Spider, brilliant name, this sort of sashy, punky girl who works at the bowling alley, and her and I guess what is meant to be the most likable of the nerds, called Kelvin. They're like the two who don't make wishes, so they essentially become the main characters who are meant to obviously fight this thing. So there you have it, and it's really shit. Basically, it doesn't live up to like the promise of the title. Um, it's just like really boring. It doesn't really do anything that exciting or that sort of crazy. The dialogue isn't even that good. There's moments of good dialogue. I like the introduction of Spider, and I do like when she says, when Calvin asks her name, and she's like Spider, and he's like, well, what's your real name? And she's like Spider. And she does have some quite sort of badass lines. I think I just enjoyed her because she did bring a bit of life to it, a bit of attitude. Um, but yeah, her swearing was actually very entertaining, and I did at least love that her name was Spider, and she seemed to be going for almost like a Debbie Harry type punk type look. But there was some reasonable chemistry between her and Calvin. But first of all, it's one of these movies where conveniently, because at the beginning, when before they get sent off to the bowling alley, you conveniently get like these tests like where they're being like whacked with paddles, and they're bent over, and the boys get to have a perv there, and then there's other stuff like whipped cream, and it's so convenient. And then you get like an Orgle sort of scene where they're upstairs and they're talking when they're having a shower because of their bruises. And yeah, so convenient that they stand there for ages semi-naked just talking so the boys can have like an Orgle. But I think one of the things with this is it doesn't really go full blown like exploitation, because I kind of, not that I was asking for it, don't get me wrong, folks, but it didn't go like full blown sort of like slutty, kind of sleazy. And you sort of think, well, it either has to do that or it has to at least be a fun, like rompy sort of horror type movie. And it doesn't really end up being either. The characters are really boring on the whole, I'd say, outside of Spider. Um, there's not much good dialogue. Occasionally there is a funny line and kind of a hammy delivery. Like there's a scene quite late on where one of the like original like sorority heads, Babs her name is, like when she's attacking Lisa, she's like, still want to join the sorority, Lisa? And it's like that's thick southern accent, and then she starts attacking her with like the paddle. So that delivery was quite good, but on the whole, it's really not that entertaining. And I think the problem is with the imp is that he shows up, and at first it's like this novelty factor. It's like, oh my god, what's going on in this movie? And the movie definitely takes a double turn, because I think you're set up to think that like the sorority girls, as in the head sorority girls, are just setting like these guys up and these other girls up, and that they're going to be like the killers. They're going to like set them up, and there's going to be something supernatural with them. But of course, it's the whole thing with the imp. But the trouble with the imp is that at first he's quite amusing in a very cheesy sort of way, but then after that he just kind of becomes annoying, and he just becomes, this kind of side like comic relief from the peanut gallery, as like the madness happens with the other characters. um yeah, it's all very goofy. Very dull. I mean, it's extremely low rent, and yeah, it really is pushing its budget where when it introduces the GIMP. The music's really rubbish because the actual main theme, which is in, I think it's like "Welcome to the Darkness" or something, and that's actually pretty catchy. That's a decent like retro 80s synth number. But the rest of the music throughout the film it is pretty shit. So it kind of had me like tapping my feet at the opening theme, but not too much after that. Um, the acting is really terrible, and unfortunately, it's not the sort of terrible where it's that entertaining either. Um, but they just the characters are just so lame because even with the nerds, I mean, okay, fair enough, Calvin gets a little bit of character growth and he sort of ends up being a hero along with Spider, and gradually, of course, they're gonna get together at the end of the film. Um, like she really takes control because like after they've fixed the whole problem and everything sorted, they go off on her bike and he's like, where are we going? And she's like, to mine, basically, because she's so badass. One of like the sorority girls, as in the head ones, looks a bit like Lisa Kudrow. There's another one who looks like Barbara um, Crampton, and I had a panic attack thinking, "Oh my God, they've wrote Barbara Crampton into this awful film." But yeah, luckily it wasn't her. Um, but yeah, there's just no thought put into like these nerds, and the dialogue is just rubbish. From really all the characters, maybe apart from Spider, and even her dialogue isn't that great. But at one point, like the one who looks like Lisa Kudrow, she says it's it's better to give than to receive, and it's meant to be like delivered in like this really kind of eerie sort of like dramatic sort of way. And one of the guys, like Calvin, the kind of obviously the one that's meant to be a bit more set at one point because they're trying to get him to go along to the sorority house, and it's like, well, sadomasculine just isn't my sort of thing, and it's like the fat nerds like but it's naked girls, man. Also, he's got like a total like stoner surfer sort of voice, and Calvin's like, oh, okay, I'm into that. It's like, God, it's rubbish. Terrible dialogue. Yeah, rubbish actors as well. More rubbish dialogue is there's meant to be like this ongoing gag about James Bond because they when they're driving to the bowling alley, like they're all trying to show off like the Keith actually the like sort of probably like the creepiest of them if there is like a winner in that contest, but he's trying to show off saying, well, I've seen like James Bond films or something, so I can break into like the bowling alley. And so then at one point the fat nerd, and I don't mind insulting him being fat because it's a lame movie and he's like a doofus, but anyway, I can't remember his name, I'll be honest. So the fat guy basically says, "Oh, you think he's so cool because he's seen it," and then he does this whole thing. It's like, "Don't worry, my 007 fountain pen will open any door," and it's meant to be like this sex metaphor. It's like, what the fuck is going on? So I'll just get to the wishes, I guess, in a way, because there's various things. So one of them, the big one, wishes for gold. He gets obviously loads of gold, but the twist is that the gold like turns out to be fake. Like Keith wishes to basically get off with Lisa, and she's suddenly appears in like this revealing sort of thing, and of course she's like the big-breasted one, so they've really got to highlight that. So they go off together. But the whole twist with that is that she's too into it, and she's too rough, and really starts like going for it, and just assaults him, and eventually like kills him. There's one of them, like the other sorority, wants to be a princess, and there's various things. As I said, obviously Spider and Kelvin become like the sort of leads in a way, because they don't make a wish. They're like, yeah, this seems a bit dodgy, and they eventually, obviously, the whole thing gets split up, and like you get these different things happening, but eventually Kelvin and Spider take care of business. So they basically have to kill everyone or break everything before, and then the imp sort of dies. So, but they do nothing with the bowling alley, because at one point they do roll like a bowling ball, and it kills like one of the girls who have been obviously possessed. But that's about it. Apart from that, they don't do anything with this setting. It's like, come on. But that's about it. It's hardly anything to talk about. It's a really, really lame movie. Um, but yeah, it's like the kills are weak. There's very little sort of gore or entertaining like sort of kills. It just, yeah, it falls kind of flat. So that's it really. Nothing more to say. My rating for the movie, it's 2 out of 10 basically. I was going to go even lower, but I guess there are some like cheesy fun moments. There are one or two good lines of dialogue, and I did kind of enjoy the Spider character. She's definitely the MVP of the film, but boy is it rough. The title alone, I guess, makes it worth watching. Quite enjoyed the opening theme, but yeah, and Spider, but boy, that's about it. Awful film all round. 2 out of 10. So that's my review of Sorority Babe in the Slimeball Bowl-O-Rama from 1988, which, as I said, is on Shudder in the UK. Thanks for listening. More horror movie reviews soon. Take care. See you.